welcome to today's class. Today's maths class we are going to talk about calculus. Under calculus we have differentiation and integration. We are going to start with differentiation. What's differentiation? Differentiation is the process by which we'll find the y, the x, or the differential coefficient of a function. The process whereby we find the differential coefficient of a function, or we find the derivative of a function. Derivative of a function. That is what differentiation is all about. The process of finding the y dx, or differential coefficient of a function, or the derivative of a function. Let's look at a formula that we will use to differentiate polynomials. If y is equal to x, then dy, if y is equal to xn, then dy dx will be nx raised to the power n minus 1. This is one formula. If y is equal to x raised to the power n, so the differential coefficient or the derivative of the function of x will be nx raised to the power n minus 1. That's if x has no multiplier. But if x has a multiplier, a coefficient, let's say if y equals to ax raised to the power n, whereby a becomes a multiplier of x or becomes a coefficient of x, then dy dx will be nx raised to the power n minus 1. So these two formulas are what is going to guide us in differentiation of polynomials generally. If x stand alone with no 1 or 2 or anything, then it will be the power to which x is raised will bring it to be a multiplier, then raised to power n minus 1. But if there's a multiplier, the multiplier remains at its position, then the exponent of x will come and multiply the multiplier, while the same exponent will take away 1 from it. That this becomes the formula that will guide all we are going to do when it comes to differentiation of polynomials. Now, if we are to differentiate constants like 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, with no attached letters, these are constants. If we are to differentiate constants, the differentiation, the y dx of constants is 0. Of constants is 0. So the y dx of 9 equals 0. The y dx of any constant that has no attached alphabet to it is 0. So let's look at some questions to buttress what we want to do. If y equals x raised to the power 3, find the derived function. Find the derived function. Derived function is the same thing as the y dx. So we say y is equal to x to the power of 3. So dy dx will be 3x 3 minus 1. We put the x raised to the power 3, then we bring the exponent, we bring it as coefficient or integer, then we take away 1 from it. So what do we have? 3 x raised to power 2. That's become our dy dx of x raised to power 3. Let's look at another question. Find the differential coefficient with respect to x. Find the differential coefficient with respect to x of the function of the function 5x squared minus 3x plus 2. So that's if y is this. So dy dx of this will be 5 times 2, 5 times 2, then we bring the x to the power minus 1 minus 3. What is here is 1. So 3 times 1 still gives us 3. X 1 minus 1. The differential coefficient of a constant is 0. So we leave it like this. So 5 times 2 is 10. X 2 minus 1 is 1. We leave it like that. 1 minus 1 is 1. Anything raised to power 0 is 1. So this becomes our answer. The differential coefficient of this becomes this. So what we do is that the exponent or the index, we multiply the multiplier, and then we take away 1 from the exponent or the index. So differentiate the following function with respect to x. Differentiate the following with respect to x. Question 7x squared. So the y, the x of this will be 7 times 2x, then the 2, which is the power minus 1. That will give us 7 times 2, 14, 14x. That will be the y dx of this question. Let's look at another question. 5x squared. So that's if y is this. So the y dx will be 5 times 2x, 2 minus 1. That's 10x. 2 minus 1 is 1. This will be the answer for this. Differentiate the following. Y is equal to bx squared. So dy dx will be 2bx 2 minus 1. That will be 2bx. 2 minus 1 is 1. So x and 2 minus 1 are the same thing. So this will be our answer. So these are the elementary. Let's look at this. X squared y equals x squared plus 4x minus 1. So if I were to find the y dx of this will be 2. This 2 comes this way. 2x, the 2 minus 1 plus 4x. What is here is 1. 1 minus 1. 1 times 4 is 4. So we just write the 4. Then the 1 here minus 1. Then the y dx of a constant, the differential coefficient of a constant is 0. So what do we have? 2x, 2 minus 1 is 1 plus 4. This will be our answer. 1 minus 1 is 0. Anything raised by 0 is 1. So 1 times 4 is 4. Another question. Y equals 3x squared minus 5x. So the y dx will be 3 times x2 minus 1 minus 5x1 over 1. So 3 times 2, 6x, 2 minus 1, 1. So we'll put the 1. X raised to power 1 is the same as x. 1 minus 1 is 0. Anything raised to power 0 is 1. So 1 times 5 is 5. This becomes our answer. Another question. Y equals s squared, s cubed plus s squared. So dy dx will be 3x, 3 minus 1 plus 2x, 2 minus 1. So that will be 3x, 3 minus 1 is 2, plus 2x, 2 minus 1 is 1. So our answer will be 3x squared plus 2x. Another question. Y equals 2s raised to power 3, that's cube, minus 3s squared. So dy dx will be 2 times 3, x 3 minus 1, minus 3 times 2, x 2 minus 1. So that will give us 2 times 3, 6, 6x, 3 minus 1, 2, 6x squared minus 6x. This will be the answer for this question. Another question. Y equals 3x squared minus 7x minus 4. So dy dx will be 3 times 2x, 2 minus 1, minus 7x, 1 minus 1. So that will be 3 times 2, 6x, 2 minus 1, 1 minus 7. Because 1 minus 1 is 0. X raised to power 0 is 1. So our answer will be 6x minus 7. Another question. Y equals s cubed, s raised to power 3 minus 5s raised to power 2 minus 5s squared plus 3x minus 2. So dy dx will be 3x 2 minus 1 minus 5 times 2 x 2 minus 1 plus 3x 1 minus 1. So what do we have? We have 3x squared minus 10x plus 3. 5 times 2, 10. 2 minus 1, 1. X raised to power 1 is x. 1 minus 1 is 0. Anything raised to power 0 is 1. 3 times 1, 3. So the y ds of this question will be 3x squared minus 10x plus 3. Another question. Find the y dx of x squared minus 4x. So the y dx is equals to 2x 2 minus 1 minus 4x 1 minus 1. That will give us 2x minus 4 as our answer here. Another question. Y equals 2 minus x squared. So the y dx will be the differential coefficient of a constant is 0. So this is 0. So it will be this x 1 minus 1 minus 2x 2 minus 1. This 2 becomes a coefficient or a multiplier. So what do we have? X raised to power 0 minus x raised to power 0 minus 2x raised to power 1. So what do we have? Anything raised to power 0 is 1. So we have minus 1 minus 2x. Or we can say minus 2x minus 1. Any of these will be correct. Minus 1 minus 2x or minus x minus 2x minus 1. Another question. Y equals 2s cubed plus 3x squared minus 12x plus 7. So the y dx, differential coefficient or derivative of this, will be 2 times 3x, 3 minus 1, plus 3 times 2x, 2 minus 1, minus 12x, 1 minus 1. So that will give us 3 times 2, 6x squared plus 6x minus 12. 1 minus 1 is 0, x raised by 0 is 1, 1 times 12 is 12. This will be our answer, 6x squared plus 6x minus 12. Another question, y equals x squared into 4x plus 3. Before we can find the derivative of this, the differential coefficient or differentiate this, we open up the bracket. We have 4x cubed plus 3x squared as our y. So the y, the x, will be 4 times 3x, 3 minus 1, plus 3 times 2x, 2 minus 1. That will give us 12x squared plus 6x as our answer here. Another question, y equals x. So the y equals s to the power of 4 plus s to the power of 2. So the y, the x of this will be 4x 4 minus 1 plus 3x 3 minus 1. That will be 4s raised to the power 3 plus 3x raised to the power 2 will be our answer. 4s cubed plus 3s squared. Another question, y equals x raised to the power 4 plus x raised to the power 3 plus x raised to the power 2. So the y, the x, will be 4x 4 minus 1 plus 3x 3 minus 1 plus 2x 2 minus 1. So that will be 4x raised to the power 3 plus 3x raised to the power 2 plus 2x raised to the power 1. So